At 2:17 EMA Eastern Time, Iranian state television suddenly interrupted all programming. A senior commander appeared on screen and announced something that stunned intelligence agencies around the world. Iran had a new supreme leader. His name is Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the man the United States and Israel killed just 10 days ago, and within hours of taking power, he delivered a message directly to the United States, a message that could determine whether this war ends quickly or becomes something much bigger. 10 days ago, the United States and Israel launched massive strikes inside Iran. The operation killed Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, a man who ruled the country for nearly 4 decades. Iran retaliated almost immediately. Drones and ballistic missiles were launched toward American military bases across the Middle East. Several American service members have already been killed. Oil prices surged worldwide. Global markets reacted instantly, and now Iran has chosen a new leader, his son, Mojtaba Khamenei. The strikes were part of a broader strategy aimed at destroying Iran's nuclear program and weakening the regime that controls the country. For years, intelligence agencies warned that Iran was getting dangerously close to the capability of producing nuclear weapons. Washington believed military pressure might stop that program or possibly trigger political instability inside Iran that could weaken the ruling system itself. But something unexpected happened. Instead of collapsing, Iran's leadership structure moved quickly and decisively. Within hours, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGT, the most powerful military force inside Iran, publicly pledged loyalty to Mojtaba Khamenei. That single move changed the power balance inside the country. It effectively placed Iran's most powerful military organization directly behind the new leader during an active war, and the message from the new leadership was immediate and confrontational. In his first statement as Supreme Leader, Mojtaba Khamenei declared that American casualties were a victory for Iran. He also stated that Iran's ultimate goal in this conflict was the complete withdrawal of American forces from the Middle East. That statement was not framed as a negotiation position. It was presented as a war objective. If this conflict escalates further, the consequences will not stay limited to the Middle East. Oil prices could surge dramatically. Global inflation could rise again. Supply chains could face new disruptions similar to those seen during previous international crises, and major powers such as China and Russia may be drawn deeper into the situation depending on how events unfold. To understand why analysts are watching this moment so closely, it helps to look at how quickly everything developed. The entire situation escalated in just 10 days. On February 28, the United States and Israel launched a coordinated military campaign targeting Iranian nuclear facilities, missile infrastructure, and strategic command centers. The operation struck more than 2,000 targets across the country. One of those strikes killed Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei in Tehran. The shock of that moment sent political tremors across the region. Within hours, Iran began retaliating. Drones and ballistic missiles were launched toward American military installations in countries across the Gulf region, including Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, and the United Arab Emirates. American air defenses intercepted many of the incoming weapons, but not all of them. Several U.S. service members were killed in the attacks. Energy markets reacted immediately. Oil prices surged as traders feared disruption to one of the most important oil supply routes in the world. Over the following days, tensions escalated further. Iran expanded its missile strikes. The United States increased military deployments to the region. Political statements from Washington and Tehran became increasingly confrontational. Then the leadership question inside Iran became urgent. With the country's longtime supreme leader dead, Iran's Assembly of Experts, the clerical body responsible for selecting the nation's highest authority, convened in an emergency session. Late at night in Tehran, they made their decision. Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the man who had just been killed, was chosen as the third supreme leader of the Islamic Republic. The announcement was broadcast globally in the early hours of the morning, but the most important signal came immediately afterward, before the Iranian parliament spoke, before the president's office issued any statement, before civilian officials appeared on television. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps issued a declaration of loyalty to the new leader. That sequence caught the attention of intelligence analysts everywhere, because it suggested that the military establishment inside Iran was moving quickly to consolidate power during wartime. For many observers, the rise of Mojtaba Khamenei is not simply a routine leadership transition. For years, he was known as a quiet and mysterious figure operating behind the scenes. Unlike his father, he rarely appeared in public. He never held major elected office. He rarely spoke to journalists. But inside Iran's political system, he was widely believed to hold significant influence, particularly over security institutions and intelligence networks. Opposition groups often described him as a shadow power broker. Some even referred to him as the ghost who runs everything. His ideological reputation is also important. Analysts who have studied his background say he is widely considered more hardline than his father, more skeptical of negotiations with the West, more supportive of confrontation with American influence in the region. That reputation makes his rise to power particularly significant during an active conflict. There is another detail about his appointment that many reports have mentioned only briefly, but that carries major implications. Traditionally, Iran's supreme leader holds the religious rank of Ayatollah. That title reflects years of scholarly authority within Shia Islamic jurisprudence. Mojtaba Khamenei does not officially hold that rank, which means his appointment stretches or potentially violates the traditional constitutional expectations surrounding the position. What that suggests to some analysts is that the decision may have been driven more by political and military considerations than by religious hierarchy. In other words, Iran's powerful security establishment may have played a decisive role in shaping the outcome. That possibility reinforces the perception that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps now holds extraordinary influence over the direction of the Iranian state. And that matters because the Urjiki controls many of the country's most powerful military tools: ballistic missile programs, drone warfare capabilities, regional proxy forces across the Middle East, and the strategic waterways that global energy markets depend on. One of those waterways is the Strait of Hormuz. Roughly 20% of the world's daily oil supply moves through that narrow channel between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula. Even the threat of disruption in that area can send energy prices skyrocketing. Oil prices have already risen sharply since the conflict began. Before the strikes, global oil prices were around $64 per barrel. They have since climbed to roughly $100. Energy economists warned that if shipping through the Strait of Hormuz were disrupted even temporarily, prices could rise dramatically higher. Some projections suggest oil could surge to between $140 and $180 per barrel. In the United States, that could push gasoline prices towards $7 or even $9 per gallon. Such an increase would ripple through nearly every sector of the global economy. Transportation costs would rise, manufacturing costs would increase, food prices could climb. Air travel routes would continue to be disrupted as airlines avoid dangerous airspace. In short, a regional military conflict could quickly become a global economic shock. That is why governments around the world are watching this leadership transition so closely. Another development has drawn particular attention from diplomats. According to several reports, the first diplomatic communications from Iran's new leadership were not directed toward Washington. They were sent first to Beijing and Moscow. China is one of the largest buyers of Iranian oil. Russia shares strategic and military relationships with Iran in multiple areas. By contacting those governments first, Iran signaled that it views them as critical partners in navigating the geopolitical crisis now unfolding. Whether China chooses to push Iran toward de-escalation or simply observe the situation will play an important role in shaping what happens next. There are several possible paths forward from this moment. One possibility is that back-channel negotiations quietly begin between Washington and Tehran. Even when public rhetoric is aggressive, private diplomatic channels often remain open during conflicts. Another possibility is that the war widens across the region. Missile strikes could expand. Regional allies could become more deeply involved. Military exchanges could intensify. The most dangerous possibility is a broader geopolitical crisis in which energy supply disruptions and great power tensions begin reinforcing each other. At this moment, analysts say the next several days may be decisive. Political statements from Tehran, diplomatic signals from Beijing and Moscow, military decisions from Washington and its regional allies. All of those developments will shape whether the situation stabilizes or escalates. For now, one fact is clear. 10 days after a military operation intended to weaken Iran's leadership, the country has installed a new supreme leader who appears prepared to continue the confrontation. What happens next will not only determine the future of this conflict. It could influence global energy markets, international alliances, and geopolitical stability for years to come. Periodicals 4 Now delivers clear, concise briefings on global tensions, warfare developments, economic shifts, and their real-world impact. Stay informed, stay ahead. Subscribe to Periodicals 4 Now for fast global briefings and geopolitical analysis.